I must introduce our viewers to this wonderful little tin. She can just warm up a little bit now. Last time I think I videoed this, it was out in the snow. It's a highway code from 1954, the year of this car. It's the French highway code, and what does it have on the cover? But what appears to be a Renault 4 CV. Well, we've made it to Crewe Heritage, and there's a few cars starting to turn up now. It's magnificent VC10. There we go, never doubted it for a moment. Well, welcome to the Old Classic Car channel. Now today's little job is to prep the yellow MX5 and the Renault 4, because we're off to Crewe Heritage Centre tomorrow for one of their regular car meetings. We went towards the end of last year, 2022, and we took the Standard 8, so this time we're going to take the MX5 and the Renault, and Harley is busy tidying up his workshop. I'm not quite sure what the future plans are for all this stuff that he's brought outside. So what's the plan today, young man?
Get the Hoover.
You're going to have a bit of a
clean all that.
Bit of a spring clean, isn't it, in the air, is it?
Those behind ammo cases. And
right.
That big door used to be here.
So you need the vac, do you?
Yeah, I will be. And then,
what's your oil can? You're going to knock that off.
Oh, I didn't know that was on there. The idea is basically just have like more things on the walls so I can see them.
So you can.
Because like before, you see there's still the remnants here. There's like a tiny bit of a sticker. You can see there's a tiny bit of a photo. There's all sorts of little stuff behind like that Veloset sign, but what I've done here is like I just want to be able to see things.
You actually want to be able to see things and get at them. Good heaven! I must introduce our viewers to this wonderful little tin. This popped up at a Shropshire antiques market that we went to recently. Let's just put it out in the daylight. So Ease-It, containing colloidal graphite, releases all rust-bound metal parts. That's a lovely little tin in great condition. Company, yeah, J. Bennett Hayden Co. Limited of Manchester, England. What a great thing that is. I take it you won't be. I'll take it you won't be letting that go then.
No, I'll show you something actually.
Oh yeah, go on.
I said when I said yesterday I found a nice old lamp.
You found a nice old lamp?
There was a nice old lamp with a crushed bug under it. That was just in that corner there. It must have fallen off here.
Oh, right.
It's actually quite a nice old Lucas one.
Well, that is nice, isn't it?
It's this one, so it's got a nice old sort of black.
So did you pinch that off me, didn't you?
I can't remember, to be honest.
I'm sure you did, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I like the ones with the painted backs. They always look good on lorries and sort of, yeah.
So that was one of the best finds.
Dodge.
We're going here. But one of the worst finds is all that.
All these old spiders and things. Yeah, there are quite a few spiders. He's a big one, isn't he?
That one is.
He's a big one, is he? Oh, there you go. He didn't seem very happy. So what's happening with all this stuff out here then?
I don't really know. Like, those two Michelin signs, those were like hidden behind like everything else. So I
remember those. Yeah. I remember those.
I did have this Red X sign.
And the remains of a Red X sign that someone's chopped up.
Yeah, it's a bit tragic in this window. But now that I'm making more videos, I'd like to have this window open so that I can see out. And
we do plan to give this a bit of a refurbishment this year, don't we? Because the paint's all getting a bit flaky, so to protect it we're going to repaint this workshop, replace some of the woodwork along the front here because that's looking a bit second hand, but it's been here 10 years, something like that. This old door's quite interesting. Many years ago I bought a trio of Bedford Utes, Australian bodied Bedford Utes or pickup trucks from Australia, had them shipped over, and amongst the spares was this old door, and the Utes are no longer with us, but I hung on to this door because of the nice old sign writing. Just thought it's a bit of a souvenir. So I'm not quite sure where that's going to end up.
Remember that?
I do, yes. We've got various ammo boxes and things, but yeah. So while Harley's busy tidying up his workshop and having a bit of a spring clean and a quick tidy up, we're going to go and clean up the MX5, check the Renault over, and just get them ready for the little car gathering that we're going to tomorrow morning. Dad's promised to turn up in his MGB GT, so it's going to be a bit of a family gathering. Mrs. OCC's driving the Mazda, and I'll be in the Renault. Yeah, this needs a bit of a clean. I'll try and keep it fairly clean and always keep the rear arches. Let's have a quick look. And the most important things to do with these is to keep the rear arches clean, because any build-ups of mud, and it's just asking for rot. So pretty much every time I go out in this, I clean out the arches. I've got a dirty rag in the garage, and I just wipe around just to make sure there's never any build-ups of mud in there. There's just nothing there at all. And that's what helps keep the arches on the cars like this in decent condition. Yes, they often rot from the inside out, but any build-ups of mud will certainly speed up any rust, and we don't want that on this car, because the previous two MX5s we had many years ago, the first one went very, very rusty indeed. The second one wasn't bad. That was a Japanese importer, Unos, and this one is a British car, British market car, that has had a fairly easy life, and we want to try and keep it in decent condition. So yeah, we're going to prep that up and get the Renault out, check all the oil and everything, and just get the two of them ready for our little foray out over to Crewe tomorrow. I honestly never thought I'd see the day when Harley vacuums his workshop. This is certainly a new one, so while he's at it he can do this. Must record this on camera for posterity, because it probably won't happen again. I needed to record this momentous occasion.
Hopefully you won't have to see it again.
I'm sure I won't see it again. I'm sure it won't. In other news, last Saturday I spent most of the day trying to persuade Big Dodge to enter life. I didn't bother videoing it, I just wanted to get on with doing it, but it was a little bit reluctant. I had to prime up the fuel system, because when it sits for a few months not running, it's a long way to pull the fuel up from the tank. I only run off one tank at the moment, over there, all the way up to here with a mechanical pump. There is an electric pump, but that's not plumbed in at the moment. So you always prime up the fuel system. After a few months of sitting, there was a good spark, but there just wasn't quite enough oomph in the battery, so I actually bought a new battery for it. I treated it to a brand new battery, and when I got to thinking about it, the battery that was on there, because we've got 12 volts on the starter, everything else is on the original 6, but the battery that was on there was the best part of, I think, about 13 years old, something like that, so I thought it's probably high time it has a new one. So the 12 volt battery sits back there under the seat, under the passenger seat. So that's the one we replaced. The 6 volt, which runs everything else, is down there. But that one was fine. So yeah, I just fired this up and warmed it through the other day. I will bring it out sometime, but I just wanted to keep everything working and everything, so it kind of starts pretty much on the button, which is always the case. That's usually the case, but obviously when it's been sat a while, it just takes a little bit more persuasion sometimes, because but I think it was feeling a little bit left out, because Little Dodge has seen a lot of the action over the last few weeks, understandably so. It's a new arrival, but I didn't want Big Dodge to feel left out. This one, we had thought of taking this tomorrow, but I thought, well, the Renault, this has had a few little runs out recently, as you've seen in previous videos perhaps. If you haven't yet seen them, please check out the rest of the channel when you're finished here. But the Renault, apart from one little run down the road, hasn't done anything in recent months, so it's high time this goes out. So let's go and get this fired up and take it outside. The previous owner actually dropped me an email the other day, and he sent me a little bit more about the history. He had it until last year and then sold it to the dealer that I bought it from, and he just clarified some of the work that was done on the engine. There was a lot of work done on the cooling system apparently. I think the car had actually been sat for quite a long time, and some of the cooling, the passageways and stuff were sort of clogged up and not very good at all. So I know they spent a fair bit of time getting that side of the thing sorted out. The head was taken off as well, so I'm thinking that will probably need re-torquing at some point, because you usually have to do that after the car's sort of seen a little bit of use. So we will be looking at that before too long as well. But I think all we're going to do now is just check the oil and make sure that's all up to the mark. Then we're going to move it outside and just sort of check it over for tomorrow. It should be alright. I mean, I ran it well, a couple of weeks ago, something like that, just in the drive, so I might take it up and down the road just to sort of try it out and make sure everything's okay for tomorrow, because we don't really want any incidents. Because last time we tried taking 2 vehicles to a show was the Orlam Transport Festival, and that's when, if you've seen a video, the Standard 8 packed up en route, and we were in Little Dodge, the Dodge Tour, the 20s Dodge, so we ended up all piling into that and carrying on to the show, and we picked the Standard up later in that day. But if at all possible, I'd like to try and avoid that happening again tomorrow. So if we check things over a little bit, then it just reduces the chances of any problems tomorrow. What I like about cars like this is it's all so mechanical. That's just the beauty of it. You can fix things. Here we've got the fuel pump, so before we go and start it up, to save churning away on the engine, you've got a manual primer. So there's a lever just on the side there. Similar pump servers obviously on British cars, that kind of thing. You can actually manually prime up the fuel from the tank. I mean, obviously it doesn't have too far to go on this one, but it all helps, and you can actually see the fuel going up these clear sections of the pipe there, and at the other end at the carburettor end. So if we get that priming lever, let's just sort that out. Right, if we get the priming lever, we should be able to see the fuel going up. So if I just manually prime that up, we should see little bubbles of fuel going up. It's also a good test of the fuel pump as well. It just gives you confidence that the fuel pump's working correctly. There we go. And the lever just goes sort of dead and floppy once it's all primed up. So that's primed up the fuel into the float chamber, which is there. I mean, this, as I've said before, this should have a Solex carburettor on it. This is a Weber. It's a replacement very similar to that fitted to the Fiat 850, I believe. Which means that parts are available for these. I could put it back to original, but if it runs okay on this carb, then I'll just leave well alone, I think. She can just warm up a little bit now. Last time I think I videoed this, it was out in the snow. Snow is long gone, and so is, at the moment anyway, is the damp weather, so that's all good news. Let's just have a quick look, make sure everything's looking correct inside. I do love this little detail, some of the details. Little 4 there. I just love the details on these cars. As you can see, it's not a very complicated dashboard. There isn't a great deal going on in here, but we do have an ashtray if that's your particular thing, if you're sort of partial to the odd gitane cigarette, as was back in the day, I think, in France. But you've got wheel, obviously, the direction indicators are there. You've got speedo in kilometres, of course. Essence is fuel, and obviously charge light is for the dynamo. It's got a manual windscreen washer arrangement. This will be familiar to many people with Morris Minors and that kind of thing. It's got a Tudor accessory screen washer on it, one of those manual plunging ones. You just push it in and you get a little squirt on the dash, on the screen rather. I think it probably needs topping up, but yeah, that's great, that is. This is the light switch, the combined light switch and parking lamps, and that's about your lot. There's not a great deal going on in here, but it's quite tidy. Someone's done a nice job of it, and as I've said in the previous video, at least this car has got the wind-up windows. Many of the cars that I've seen, this is sort of open, this sort of goes inside the door frame, so it gives you a little bit more elbow space. But the downside is you don't have windows that pull up. I don't think they even pull up and down. They're just static, the front windows in most 4CVs that I've seen. So to have wind-up windows is a real bonus. The cars with the fixed door windows have slightly longer quarter lights. If you look at French examples, the quarter light ends about there. So they have much larger quarter lights. So these have smaller quarter lights, but wind-up windows, and I'm quite happy about that. So we'll just let this warm through a bit anyway, and I think I'll give it a wash, or maybe a bit of a polish as well, because even though it's been sat in the garage, it does all get quite dusty, and even in here it's quite dusty as well. So I think we'll just get a damp rag and just wipe everything over and just check it all over, and then take it down the road just for a quick test, ready for tomorrow's show. Right, let's go and see how Harley's getting on with that vacuuming. That's looking a lot better in there. It's quite grubby after a few trips to Walton Park. So what's next in here? Cases, really. Oh, right, just sort of stack things up in there. Yeah. Nice old Rudge bicycle. We bought this at a car boot sale a couple of years ago. Someone was selling that, and it's just a beautifully original bike, even down to the remains of the transfer on the back for the supplying dealer. Does need probably a new set of tyres and inner tubes. They're looking a bit second hand, but it's just a cracking old bike. What have you got there? I saw that before. I want to lubricate the door latches on the Renault. They're pretty good, but it doesn't harm just to give them a quick lubrication. And this is almost in period. What's this, 1960s, something like that. So that's all very in keeping. We like to try and use period products on these things. So we'll lubricate the hinges, which actually there. Nice exterior hinges. So those are nice and easy to get at. But if you want your doors to really shut nicely, lubricate the striker. That'll just help it close really nicely. Fortunately, that's a cracking tin, that is. I wonder if he'll miss it. Fortunately, the doors seem to shut quite nicely on this car, and that's usually a sign of a decent structure. So if we push that too, and just, yeah, I don't think we can complain about that too much. But yeah, I think I'm going to give this a bit of a polish. Might even give it a quick wash, and then, yeah, break out the polish if it dries in time. Well, they've both had a wash now, so they can just be drying off, and if I get a chance, I will give this a bit of a waxing up, just to sort of help protect things a little bit more. Whether I'll get it done before tomorrow or not, I'm not quite sure. It has been polished in the recent history, so it's not the end of the world if I don't get a chance to polish it tomorrow. But it's certainly something I would like to do before too long, just to help protect it all. But yeah, it's looking quite nice. Another little job I undertook last weekend was to replace the fan belt on the Dodge here. As you can see, it's got a lovely nice old new old stock Ray Bestos R124. That's the one I put on. This is it, and in fact, this old Ray Bestos, it actually lists Dodge trucks as some of the vehicles that it's suitable for. It's dated 1953. And it's fitted to the Austin 12 and the 12 horsepower, well 11.9 horsepower and the 12.4, and a whole list of Dodge commercials, i.e. vans, pickups, trucks. Curiously, it doesn't list the WC2, which is what this pickup is, a half-ton, but it lists virtually every other Dodge known to man. So there was always a good chance it was going to fit on here, and fortunately it did. It also fits the V8 Ford, Morris 25, the big 6-cylinder car, Opel 2 litre and the Opel Olympia, the Wolseley, big Wolseley's the 20 and the 25 horsepower, and an Aston Martin 2.5 litre. So yeah, so that's a lovely new old stock fan belt gone onto the Dodge. Now obviously sometimes these old belts aren't in great condition, they've gone hard and so on, but this one was still really nice and pliable, so obviously I'll keep an eye on it. But touch wood, that'll be okay. This is the one that came off, which was on its last legs. I will keep it as a spare, because it will do as I get you home. But as you can see, it's looking pretty second hand. This it's probably the original one that was on it when it lived in California, so can't complain really. But it's certainly not the sort of thing you want to rely on, so hence the fitting of this one here. Actually, this new old stock Ray Bestos belt came from the garage where this Dodge used to live for many, many years, so it's kind of appropriate kind of fitting that this old belt, which has been hanging in that garage for years and years, ended up going on the truck that spent many, many years in that garage. So it's all kind of seems to fit quite nicely. So I'll just keep this as a spare. Like I say, it'll get you home if you're in trouble, but otherwise I think it's probably had enough. Anyway, let's go and make a sandwich, and while we're doing that, the Renault can be drying off, and maybe we'll put a bit of polish on it later on. But then again, maybe we won't. Oh, we've had lunch and the car's dried off quite nicely, so it's time to break out the you-know-what. I'm not really big on polishing old cars, but there's no denying the fact that it does protect the paintwork a little bit, so I'll give this a bit of a go. Well, I think that's about as clean as I'm going to get it. Just got a few odds and sods on the back seat here. We've got an original factory workshop manual, because why not? RAC Guide and Handbook, 1954, the year this car was put on the road. I do like the bookmarks these have as well, look at that. India tyres, the finest tyres made. Lovely that. Aston and Olagonda, yeah, full of lovely old adverts as well. These RAC books are well worth picking up if you see them in a second-hand bookshop or something. That's where most of these came from that I've got. Yeah. Adverts for hotels and many, many more things. Sprite caravans. Who remembers Sprite caravans? I know I do. A car cruiser. Yeah, lots and lots of lovely things. Duckham's NOL motor oils. Dagonite batteries. Romac puncture repair and a Davenset. I've got one of those. A Davenset battery charger for dependability. There you go. Anyway, that's in there. I found this. We've got a map of the Paris Metro, which seems in keeping for the car. And this is a highway code from 1954. The year of this car. It's the French highway code. And what does it have on the cover? But what appears to be a Renault 4 CV. That popped up in an antique centre just a couple of months ago, so I thought that'll have to have that. So that can go on the rear parcel shelf, along with the map of Paris and the metro system. So they look just perfect. We can't have too much clutter in here because otherwise there won't be room for us, which would seem a little bit counterproductive. But yeah, that's all looking quite neat and tidy inside. Fairly clean outside. It's never going to be perfect. I'm not going to win any shows with this, but that'll probably do. It'll need a wash when we come back anyway, so there's no point going too berserk, but at least if it looks presentable, that'll do for me. I think that's pretty much all the prep done on the 4CV and the MX5 for tomorrow. I found a nice old French Marshall bulb box, so I thought that can go on the rear shelf along with those other bits of literature that I mentioned before. It's all polished up. The MX5 is looking fairly clean. Certainly clean enough, so Mrs. OCC is going to drive that. I think she quite likes driving that. Reminds her of the red ones that she used to run many, many years ago, so she'll be piloting that. We'll be piloting this, and we'll see how we go. I mean, I don't know how many cars are actually going to turn up tomorrow. The roads are still a little bit mucky. It's still quite wintry. It's only early February 2023, so it's not ideal taking them out at this time of year, but it's not ideal just leaving them sat for months and then doing nothing in the garage. So you've got to try and find a balance between using them and keeping everything working, brakes and so on, but not exposing them to too much of the bad weather and the bad roads that are around at this time of year. So you've got to try and strike a balance, but I didn't buy these things just to leave them sat in the garage all the time, so you've got to try and use them a little bit. Trundling along towards the Crewe Heritage Centre now, so I'm not sure what time it is. Did you check the time when we left? About 8:30? About 8, something like that. So we should be able to set up, and hopefully there'll be quite a few cars to turn up today. Whether there'll be any other Renault 4 CVs, I don't quite know. But,
somehow I doubt it.
But we live in hope. Mum's behind, I don't know if you can see her. Convoy, and hopefully it'll be a bit more successful than the Orland trip last year, which didn't quite go to plan. Well, we've made it to Crewe Heritage and there's a few cars starting to turn up now, including a lovely pre-war Austin Ruby. Well, we managed to get the 3 cars together, us and the Renault 4 CV, or Renault 750 as it should be called. Erin Dawes brought the MX5 Mk1, she followed behind us, and on the end here we've got Dad's MGB. If you've not seen it yet, check out Harley's video on the Car Traction, all one word, channel, and he had a good look over the MGB and we took a bit of footage of it driving along. Yeah, so this is Grandad's, or my dad, but his Grandad's latest steed. Very bonny little GT it is as well. We've got an MG Maestro pulling in now. That's a rare survivor.
Hey, buddy.
Land Rover's on the move, and we've got an XJ40 coming in.
I'd just like to point out that's a Daimler.
Is it a Daimler, is it?
Yeah.
It is indeed. Grandad will be happy. He likes his Jaguars. Of course, we're at Crewe Heritage, so that means lots and lots of railway related items. We're just next to the main line there. And then here, on this HS125, I've never seen one of these before. A halogen Y-pack hair razor lamp. I've never seen one of those before. I've no idea what that's all about. What are you laughing at? It hasn't got one on this side, there's a different lamp on that side. We've got a few cars there. We've got a 5 Series BMW, an E34 5 Series BMW just rumbling in. What do we have here but a Ford Anglia 105e Estate, no less. I've never seen that one before. There's quite a few cars here actually today that I've never seen at any car gatherings before, so that's all quite encouraging. I think I better move because he's going to come over here, I think. The two interesting estates together, the Vauxhall Sports Hatch here and the 105e Estate. A couple more coming in. We've got an MGC Roadster. You can tell it's a C by that hump and the aluminium bonnet. And a Triumph 1500 behind that, or was it a Dolomite? I can never remember which. Yeah, 1500. I've seen this one at the Wem Vehicles of Interest before now. I think I bought a fire extinguisher off this gentleman.
Oh!
He had a load of bits and pieces for sale, didn't he?
Was it tyre pressure?
He had a load of pressure gauges, didn't he? That's it. The Maestro contingent is here. Well, the doors are opening, and what do we have here? But a Green Goddess, the old Bedford Green Goddess. What a beauty that is, in the livery of the AFS, the Auxiliary Fire Service. Beautiful tyres on there. Dad's just checking out the Daimler XJ40. We've got a Volvo here. Is this a V70 or maybe an 850? I'm not quite sure which, but it's a very clean one. Let's have a quick look on the back. We used to have a V70 in this shape. Yeah, it's a V70 TDI. Very clean car. A couple of Landys. You can hear that Green Goddess rumbling up. Got a beautiful red Triumph Stag here. The mighty Mustang alongside. Another pre-war beauty here. We've had the Austin 7 Ruby already. There's the Green Goddess. And here we've got a beautiful Riley 9 Monaco. How lovely is that? Someone else flying the flag for yellow cars. I've got a Spitfire 1500. Here's the business end. And joining that sports hatch, we've got an HC Viva on an R-Edge. That's quite a late one. Really nice four-door saloon. .300ZX. Another of Solihull's finest. And funny enough, we've got the Renault here and the Austin 7 Ruby that turned up. This is a 35, I think it is. There's only 1cc difference between them. This is 748cc, a little Renault, and this is 747. Although this is a side valve and much older design, but probably similar power output, probably similar speed. I do love a little Austin 7. Got a real mixture in this lineup here. Let's have a quick walk down the road. We've got a beige Metro there. That's Super Maestro, the MG Maestro. It's a fairly early one. It's on a B plate. The Capri. Nova GTE. I'm not making any more of those anymore. There's that 5 Series BMW, lovely 6-cylinder noise as it came in. There's that Vauxhall Sports hatch. And the Anglia wagon. What do we have here? An Escort, a Mark III Escort, about 1985. And we've got a pair of Maestros here. This Volvo you'll have seen if you've seen the video we did of Smallwood and also the North Wales Classic Car Show. This beautiful Volvo 144 featured in that. Absolutely stunning car that is. White Stag, unusual wheels. I've never seen those wheels before. Very similar colours actually. Let's have a quick peek at this Volvo before we carry on. Proper Volvo door mirror there. Of course this is the same shape as the Volvo 164 that I had, which was a car I would have loved to hang on to, but it just wasn't really doing what I needed it to do. 300ZX. There's that gorgeous Riley that came in before. There's a before and after photos in the window. I do like these. Very distinctive shape to the windows on Riley's. You've got this sort of, it's not a perfect rectangle. It sort of dips down there, dips up there. Same on the front doors. And the back windows as well. They often have a similar shape to them. This one doesn't, but that's a gorgeous car. In the 1950s it became compulsory to have 2 stop tail lights, like I say, later indicators on the back. It would have had pop-up semaphores if anything, and not all cars had any form of indication. I do like the R for Riley and the diamond shaped bonnet catches. That's a nice touch, matching the diamond shape of the Riley logo motif. Yeah, that's a beauty, that is. I do like that. There's our little Spitfire 1500 we've seen before. The Viva HC. The Capri that's turned up, another laser. MGF. Is it a Metro or over 100? I'm never quite sure. Really clean Fiesta. The Saab 99, same colour as the one that my uncle shoehorned a Dolomite Sprint engine into. His was a 2-door, WXF149M was the registration of that car. And he just wanted to give it a little bit more pizzazz. At the same time as Dad had his 900 Turbo, my uncle had this 99L. And a mutual friend of theirs was into Dolomite Sprint, so my uncle got hold of a Dolly Sprint engine or 3 and shoehorned it in under the bonnet of his Saab 99, which made it very exciting to run indeed. It's not often you see a Montego, and those that you do see are normally estates for some reason. Got a little Ford 100E Prefect burbling in. What a beauty that is. We've seen that at many classic car shows in the area. Always good to see it out and about. If you want a Chevy pickup with a V8 and power steering, here you go, it's up for sale. Let's have a quick look. There you go. Yeah, a bit of a patina look going on, very similar to our 47 Dodge. This is obviously a bit newer, or a fair bit newer.
Very similar.
But yeah, we've got very similar sort of a paintwork. Step side, short bed body. Very cool indeed. I'm sure power steering is a real benefit on something like this with rubber that big. The size of the wheels on that, but they look just right, not too shouty, not too in your face, just sort of a subtle. It's got a great look to it, I think. What do you reckon? I like the look of that.
I like how it's not too outrageous.
It's not too in your face, is it? It's just sort of a nicely worn looking paint.
Yeah, it's not too shouty.
No, so that's on an F, so what's that, about 68 or thereabouts? It's about 68. Well, somewhere about there, isn't it? If you've seen the previous videos here at Crewe Heritage, you'll have seen this car before. Distinctive, because it has Alfa Romeo leather seats, and they look really in keeping, I think. It's a great old car, this is. Proper Triumph Alley wheels. Two-tone paint. Really nice. Proper number plates as well. None of these cheapo pressed horrible metal things. So here we've actually got two classic wagons together, and they are both maroon. At first glance you'd think this Vauxhall is black, but it's actually a very dark maroon. I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but yeah, that's a dark maroon, and this is a slightly lighter maroon, this wonderful Anglia Deluxe Estate. Such a practical classic that is. It's on the D plate, so that's a 66, that makes that 1966 registration here in the UK. That's how the registrations work up until 1966, and from 67 onwards they ran from August through to the following July, but up to and including 66. Those suffixes tell us what age it is. But yeah, I do like those, a bit like Lotus Cortina, slightly wide steel wheels on the back and the standard wheels on the front, but otherwise it doesn't look very modified at all. But looks can be deceiving, especially with Fords, which are very popular with the tuning people, so you just never quite know if it's got a stock Ford engine under its bonnet or if there's something a little bit more fruity lurking beneath its bonnet. Yeah, that's a very usable little car. There was a Hillman Husky here last year, which was another estate car from the Roots group, and that was a nice little car as well. But yeah, beauty, love that. And this belongs to an OCC, a regular on the old classic car forum. Hello. So what model of 5 Series are we looking at here? 525i, 1989. 34. This is the E34 shape, yeah. So 2.5 straight 6.
I really like the wheels and they just look really nice.
A daily driver. Yeah.
Car, can't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, the BBS alley wheels. Yeah, that's a very smart looking car indeed. And red. Especially as a daily drive, it's a very difficult colour to keep looking shiny. It always seems to fade off more than other colours for some reason. I've never quite known that, but not being a paint guru. There's that GTE again. It's super clean. Yeah, super clean inside and out, isn't it?
Black's a hard colour to keep clean.
It is. Renault's tucked away over here, so there's a bit of everything here at the Crewe Heritage, which is really encouraging to see, because not everyone's got their cars on the road in February. A lot of classic cars are tucked away for the winter and will probably be retaxed around about sort of Easter time, something like that. So to see this great turnout of cars is, well, fantastic. I saw a couple more things arrive and park up at the end of this row, so let's have a scoot down here and see what we can see. At the end here we've got I think this is a Vauxhall Astra Max van, not a Bedford, but the Vauxhall badge version. You don't see those every day now. Based on the contemporary Astra, I guess, the Astra Max. Little commercial vehicles always get rare, always disappear before the equivalent cars because they get worked to death usually. And look over here, we've got the little Astra Max over there, but this gorgeous Nash, not an Austin, this is a Nash Metropolitan. Austin were sort of subcontracted out from Nash in America, and Austin actually built these on Nash's behalf. In later years they did actually badge these up and sell them as the Austin Metropolitan, but this is an original Nash. An incredible little car, obviously built with America in mind. I think the later ones, I might be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the later ones had an opening boot lid, but I could be wrong. This has got this, or what they used to call a continental style kit with the spare wheel on the back, and the bumper sort of comes out to wrap around it slightly. But what a beauty that is. I was just speaking to the gentleman that owns this, and he's only just bought it. What a cracking little car that is. This must be one of the only cars where the main door pressing, that could be fitted on either side of the car. Obviously you drill it out for the door handle and the bit of trim on the side, but basically that door is symmetrical and that will go on the other side with a bit of fiddling and fettling, so that must have cut down on production costs somewhat. But what an interesting little car that is. Look at the shape of the windscreen, the way it just cuts around the bottom there, and on the scuttle you've got those angled wiper blades. Stunning chrome and paint on this two-tone example. Isn't that just great? I love that. And apparently he's got a pre-war Renault tucked away at home, which may come for a future meeting, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. But look at the interior and there, column change. Wrap-around rear screen. That's just a fantastic little car. So pleased that turned up today. Like I say, so many cars at the moment are tucked away for the winter and probably get put back on the road kind of Easter time usually, but to see all these great cars here today is a real treat. And to see rarities, there's so many cars here I've not actually seen before, so to see cars like this Metropolitan is just wonderful. Let me know in the comments which of the cars here today you would take home. There's a little white Dolomite here as well. I don't remember seeing this one coming in. So what year is that? That's on an L. That's about 72 then. It's got tinted glass and Dolly Sprint wheels. Nodding dog. Who remembers nodding dogs for the rear parcel shelf? Big old Dodge, well, it's not that old, but a Dodge Hemi just parking up there. Is that a Charger or a Challenger? It's a Challenger. This brace of Land Rovers. Very jazzy rear lights on this one. Let's go and have a look over here. I've not been over here for a few minutes. We've got a Rover Streetwise, based on the old Rover 200 hatchback. You don't see those too often. They jack them up, put some extra plastic on the front, and a wonderful larder. Isn't that fantastic? I've seen this somewhere before, maybe the Aldham Transport Festival perhaps. A Lada 1500 ES Estate. You can always pause the video if you want to have a read about this. 1978. Wow.
And you're knackered now, aren't you? So.
You want me out with the door for you, mate?
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, let's have a quick peek inside. Oh, fantastic. I like the Motorola radio.
That was a bad week, though. I was good.
Yeah, I remember having one of those radios in my dad's car when I was a kid.
Yeah.
He had a Volvo 120 and had that radio in it. That's great. So what's the story with this? Where's it been? Where did you find it?
I was at a show. We've got other cars. We've got classic console Capris, you know.
Yeah, I've seen this before somewhere, but I'm not sure
it's been
where.
in a couple of magazines, actually.
Was it? Yeah.
I was at a show. This guy came up. He'd got to Mexico, and he said he got this car. I said nobody will come out and see it, you know. And I said, "Oh, what is it?" He said, "It's a Lada estate." I said to him, "I'm not bloody bothered about that, like, you know." Anyway, it was a nice day, and this place was right in the middle of nowhere. It was out in the Staffordshire Moorlands, and the only reason it was that far away from people.
Yeah.
That if it had been on a main road or something like that, the thing would have been scrapped. And the story was, he was going away in it on the Saturday, and he went out in it on the Thursday, put some fuel in it, it broke down on him, as he would. And he hired a car and shoved this into this brick outbuilding, you know.
Yeah.
And there it stayed for 25 years.
Did it?
Never moved.
Wow.
In fact, he used it as a wood store. He just opened the tailgate up and put all his wood in it. There was mice in it.
The interior's incredible, isn't it?
Oh, done nothing to that.
Have you not?
No, only cleaned it with a good cleaner, you know.
Wow.
But I mean, it's been our kids rebuilt it and resprayed it. And
Such a rare thing now, isn't it?
it's the only ES on the road in the country.
Because didn't a lot of these go back to
Yes,
Russia,
a
like
lot
in the
went-
sort of 2000s,
there's hundreds
90s,
there's hundreds of
2000s?
them at the bottom of the Baltic, you know. What they did was, they had them all,
Yeah.
scrap a knot, and then they put them on the boat, and what they wanted, they took off. Same might take the back axle off, or the glass, or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
And they stripped them, and if the shell was no good, they just over the side. So there's hundreds of them at the bottom of the Baltic. So, you know,
dear.
but the ES model, they all came in as a standard estate with a whatever colour roof.
Yeah.
Once they got to here, and I think it was somewhere around the Ipswich end, Felixstowe perhaps, or whatever,
Yeah.
a company took so many, put a vinyl roof on,
Yeah.
put a vinyl roof on it.
So they made it a bit more appealing to
They
the
put a
market
centre
here,
console in. They put a heated rear window in with a wash wipe. Upgraded it and called it an ES.
Oh, great.
And they just upgraded it for British roads.
Right, yeah.
This is the only ES on the road in the country.
Is it?
That's according to the DVLA, DVLA as well.
Yeah. That's a
So it's the
cracker,
only
isn't it?
one.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it?
It's the only one.
Yeah. It's beautiful. So what condition was the bodywork in when you
It wasn't
got hold of
bad.
it? Right.
It wasn't bad, but of course, we're talking a Russian quality now as well, aren't we?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
but it's got a Weber car, but it's got a conversion on it, electronic ignition. The list is that long that it's had bits and bobs, you know.
That's a cracker, isn't it? Well, it's great to see it here today.
well, yeah.
Thanks for the quick
It's
potted history
just
on it.
different, isn't it? You
I
know.
love different. I like
And of course, it's basically a Fiat 124,
Yeah.
and that is a 1974 Fiat colour. That's moss green.
Is it? Oh,
It's moss green. People like the colour, and so do I.
it's such a practical car as well. Isn't
Yeah,
it? You know, it's
it's,
great, isn't it? And estates are.
So it's something different, you know.
It is, yeah. I'm all for that.
It's all something different.
There's that Ford 100e Prefect that pulled in. This is a regular. He's involved. The owner of this is involved with the Ford Side Valve Owners Club locally, so I often have a chat with him because we've got our little Anglia at home, which needs a bit of an airing. Actually, I must get the Anglia out sometime. So I think when we get home today, we'll have a bit of a move around and get the Anglia near the door, so we can take it out for a bit of a run. A few people are asking for updates on the Anglia, so I need to do something with that. But this is obviously slightly later. The engine is an evolution of the engine that was in the upright Ford 103e Pop. Still 1172cc, but these had adjustable valves on the engines in the 100es, and it had a built-in water pump, neither of which were features of the earlier 1172cc engine. So even so it's the same capacity, the engines in the upright Pops and these 100es are actually quite different. They're not directly interchangeable as far as I know. Got a bit of information in the screen there, that's good. So 100E Prefect, 4-door version 100E. The earliest examples featured fluted bumpers, painted grille, chrome surround, raised aeroplane bonnet motif, chromed headlamp bezels, and a rear light cluster comprising combined brake, tail, indicator light and reflector. I'm sure many people watching this video will remember Ford 100Es. They used to be everywhere at one time. You don't see many good ones like this now. This Cortina here, a GXL and Mark III GXL. I like that. I like the dealer supplier sticker. So this was pretty much top of the tree, I think, when it comes to Mark III Cortinas. The vinyl roof, metallic paint, extra strips down the side, and shiny wheel trims. 4 headlamps. This is a cracker, this is. Yeah, they're nice, aren't they? Nice shape. Bit of the Coke bottle style in this sort of raised bit that they towards the back of the body there. Yeah. Even these Peugeot 406 coupes aren't all that common now. 2002, so that's 21 years old now. Quite a sleek looking car, and much better looking than the 407 coupe that came along afterwards. A very late Rover 75, one of the last. It's a V8. It's got the 260 Mustang engine in it. So yet more new arrivals, a notchback Mustang. So what's that, 66? Another Maestro. There's a big contingent of Maestros here. That one's for sale. They've got a VW Jetta. Don't know what that is. No, is this the... Oh, it's the Hyundai with MG badges, yeah. The Rover 75. A very smart little Mini. This is a Mark III Mini. First of the Minis with the hidden door hinges and the proper wind-up windows, at least in this country. A glass sunroof as well. Nice Mini lights. Proper Mini light wheels. They're very nice. Minis always look good on 10-inch wheels. I'm not so sure about the later ones. They look good, but I do prefer 10-inch wheels on Minis. But yeah, and you can always tell a Mark III because it's got the double gutter, the double seam along here, which later ones didn't have, I believe. Protected by crook, look.
Yeah, look, there's another one coming in.
And there's another Mini coming in, a slightly later one. So whereas this one's on the 10-inch, this should be on the 12-inch, I would have thought. Yeah. The Mini 35, that was an anniversary model for 35 years of the Mini. Now my nose is telling me that the bacon sandwich stall is in full swing at the far end, so I think we will make our way down here and avail ourselves of the bacon sandwich facilities here at the Crewe Heritage Centre. It's an excellent, really excellent turnout today. I really wasn't expecting this many cars here. Grandad's got the bonnet up on his MGB GT. It's very clean under here, so let's have a quick peek under here. If you've seen Harley's video, you will have seen under here already, but if you haven't, well, here you go. Twin cane ends. It's got an optional oil cooler on it as well. So that comes off the oil filter housing, which is down there. Nice and easy to get at. Good old B Series, BMC B Series engine, 1800cc. There we go. And it's a fairly rare variant because it's got the recessed grille. So when the bonnet's down, the bonnet comes to about here.
October 72, so it's one of the last recessed.
October 72, is it? Right. Is it one of the last of those? But they weren't universally popular, those grills, back in the day, so many people have changed their cars to the earlier slatted grill, so you don't see as many with these original recessed black grills. That's good. No, obviously. There's our little MX5 Dad's yakking to someone there at the back of the Renault. Anyway, let's go and find this bacon, because I keep being nudged that we need to come find some bacon. So let's go and get that sorted out. Over here we've got a fantastic little Cycle Master, and this is based on a Phillips bicycle. What a bobby dazzle that is. So you pedal it to start these, don't you? You sort of pedal like crazy. Right. There's the old Phillips badge on the back there. This lovely old Landy's always here as well. Proper patina on this one. It's a Series 2 or a 2A. I'm never quite sure of the difference, but I wonder what that spanner's for. Nice old spanner.
It's lovely, the paint.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? It's all fire pump on the back. What a great setup that is. So I wonder what this engine is. What's this engine here? A Rolls Royce. Good heavens. So it's a Rolls Royce fire pump unit. Yeah. It is big, isn't it?
I guess it doesn't need to be revvy at all, it'll just run on idle.
Yeah. Yes. So again, the business end of things.
1931. 1931.
Rolls Royce. Oh. That's fantastic. I like that. Coventry Climax engines. Godiva. So Godiva were the people who made the fire pumps. Coventry Climax. That's beautiful, that, isn't it? That's a proper oily ragger. Got the bonnet up on the Land Rover here, so someone did request more under bonnet views a little while ago, so here you go. A 2.25 petrol engine. It's only done 20 something thousand miles from new, this old Landy. It's a Series 2A, I heard the owner saying before. Super original. It's even got the firing order on the inlet manifold there.
This would be the one I'd have. Alright, mate, yeah.
That's it. I mean, if you repainted this, you just lose so much of the character of it. It'd just be another Land Rover. But this has evolved to this over the last 60 something years or whatever. That's what makes it really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, just like on the cam cover and all sorts.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it?
The wear is just lovely. Nice and oily.
Proper, isn't it? Proper. There's our Rover 75 that came in before, and there is the Mustang derived engine. They didn't make many of these. There was the MG version, the ZT260 I think it was called, and the ZTT, the Estate 260. But this is the Rover badge version, and I don't think there were many of these. I don't know much about these cars, I'll be honest, but I know there weren't many of these made. Oh, what do we have over here? A Dodge, a pre-war vintage Dodge. Now this is a little bit newer than the one we had. Oh, I like that. Yeah, Dodge Victory 6. We've seen this one at Smallwood and places like that. But yeah, wow. Have you seen how the lamp's got a mirror on the back as well? It's got a little mirror on the back.
That's lovely.
Yeah, my Dodge was 1924. The DB, Dodge Brothers. Yeah, this is about 26 or 28, something like that. But yeah, DB, Dodge Brothers, Type B lamp. Oh, there you go, 1928, it says it on the back there. Again, wooden wheels like we had, slightly different diameter. These aren't quite as big a diameter. Very similar wheel caps, again with DB on for Dodge Brothers. Different interior. Also right-hand drive like ours was. So this may have come from Australia as well, or possibly South Africa, but I'm guessing this is probably from Australia.
That looked interesting. Oh, I've seen them before, with the engine in the back wheel. Yes. Oh, what was it in France? I used to, when I was a kid, I used to ride.
Old tilt ray headlamps guide. The Victory 6-cylinder. Ours was a big 4-cylinder, 3.5 litre. I'm not quite sure of the capacity of the Dodge Victory 6, but that's gorgeous. Slightly different lens on this side. Got top. Guide ray Type A lens. Devil's in the detail with this kind of thing. Fantastic. Lovely details on these.
Go get you some food, mate.
Lurking on the end over here, we've got a rubber bumper, MGB GT. So what year is this one? It's on a W. Yeah, it is fairly late, isn't it? The badges did change, yeah. I can't remember if that was an early or a late thing, but I know they didn't all have that GT badge, and the badges changed on the back as well. I couldn't tell you when the changeover took place.
Plastic, aren't they?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, a very usable classic car. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. If you want to start a classic car, you could do a lot worse than one of these. There aren't any Morris Minors here today, are there?
No, they're not actually.
No. I thought there would have been.
I used to see everywhere, but now actually
You don't see them as much as you used to. It's surprising.
it's weird.
Still turning up. We've got a 1300 here. Is it an Austin or a Morris? It is an Austin 1300. So we've got a 1275 A series engine in that.
Bye. That's a hole in his car.
It'd be rude not to have a quick look at some of the locomotive related items here. I don't necessarily know what I'm looking at, but it's good to see it all being preserved so well. The old InterCity 125 and the APT over the back. There's this part of an APT as well. It's got that kind of shape. I like these big old diesels. I mean, I'm not a big fan of diesels in cars, but I think these have got loads of character. All sorts of things. Freightliner there. It's always worth having a walk around here just to see what they're working on. There's always things changing. Work in progress going on here, just behind the main workshop building. Suddenly messing around with old cars looks quite simple compared to this heavy engineering. There's the boss and Harley heading back. There goes the Vauxhall Sports hatch. That's going home now. Everyone, well, most people have probably gone by now, so I think we'll probably do the same. I need to have a bit of a sort out back at base, so I don't want to be too long. But yeah, it's been a cracking turnout here at Crewe Heritage. Dad's still yakking to someone. There's a little Renault. So yeah, I think we'll head back home. Just thought I'd pop into Mum and Dad's on the way home to see this magnificent VC10. This huge model. I mean, you can see it sort of takes up the entire conservatory. This is an ex-travel agent's model, I believe. I gave him a hand to pick this up the other day. It's had a bit of restoration work done at the back end, but not too much. But I hadn't seen it with the wings on, so I'll have to stand inside a bit just to... there we go. You can see the size of it. It's a real whopper. We picked this up the other day. We used her indoors. Is Honda Estates, because it's the only one that this would actually fit in. How long is it? About seven or so feet long. So it's a bit of a whopper. It's based on the standard VC10. There was the longer fuselage version, the Super VC10. But this is the standard VC10 in the 1970s British Airways livery. Originally it would have been in BOAC, the actual aircraft themselves. As you can see, aircraft are a bit of a theme here. I just had to come and have a look at this VC10. It's an absolutely magnificent thing. This is absolutely beautiful. So I just thought, I'll come and have a quick look while it's all assembled with its wings. And it's nice and visible here. And on the subject of these old aeroplanes, we've got this tin plate Constellation. One of my favourite aircraft, the old Connies. This is so you reckon this is the one that you had as a child and then lost it?
It's got its initials inside.
So this disappeared when you were a child somewhere and you didn't see it again?
My parents, my mother at the time, passed it on to a neighbour.
Oh, so your mum gave all your toys away, didn't she?
Yeah, which was a bit annoying because it's the first proper thing I bought with my paper round.
Oh, your paper round when you bought it, did it? Right. So this disappeared, you didn't see it for sort of 50 years or something.
Correct.
And then where did you spot this?
Well, I didn't. Phil found it.
Oh, right,
Also
right.
on eBay,
Oh, right.
Yorkshire,
Yeah.
which is where it went from when we lived in.
Oh, yeah.
I know it went to Yorkshire.
Right.
Phil saw it in Yorkshire.
Oh.
I thought, I've got to have it back. I can't.
No, you have to buy it back, couldn't you?
In a bit of a poorer state than when I had it. But
Yeah, but a few years have passed, haven't they?
indeed.
And then, so you found your name that you'd scratched underneath it somewhere, hadn't you?
Yes, I did.
Somewhere.
Yes, I did.
Oh, so it's got your initials RJ
Yeah,
just inside.
just
If we can see that.
preserved.
See it somewhere in there. I'm sure you can just about see RJ scraped in there. Yeah.
That dent. Put
Oh,
a
yeah.
dent on the roof somewhere. Can't remember where. Well, there it is.
Oh, there's a little crease
That
there,
dent,
isn't
that
there?
crease there was put in by me.
Oh, was it?
Yes, yes. Yeah, well, when I first got it.
Right.
At least I remember that.
So it's made for Air France then?
Made for Air France,
Oh,
yes.
right.
In France.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite neat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Justre, I've heard of them. I've heard of that company. But yeah, but it's made specifically for Air France then, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
That's cool, that is.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice old thing, that is. Well, it's nice that you found it again.
Well, that's it. So it's come home, if you like.
Yeah.
I remember joined the Christmas club to buy it at the toy shop in Hale,
Oh, right, yeah.
in Cheshire, Hale, Cheshire. And it was
Fiddly thing to pop back in.
a bit fiddly, yes, just a bit. Opposite back.
Yeah.
But yes, and I joined this Christmas club and saved 2 and 6 a week.
Did you?
It was 30 shillings.
Yeah.
Wow,
Wow.
30 shillings.
That's a cracking old thing, that, isn't
I
it?
got it in time for Christmas. And here she is,
Yeah.
all these years later.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
So I got it in about 1957.
Was it 57? Was it?
57, I thought this year. 1957.
Wow. Yeah, that's great, that, isn't it? It's come full circle.
It has.
Yeah.
It has.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. We're all back home, safe and sound. Dad's back with his MGB back at his place. The boss has brought the MX5 back, and I brought the 4CV back just now, so that's all good. A successful run out. So that's the second mini show that we've been to, if you like. Small breakfast gathering. The first was at Hopley House Farm Shop. That was towards the end of 2022. I did do a video about that. And this is our first. I think it's our first trip this year to the Crewe Heritage Centre. I think there was a meeting in January, but we didn't get to that one in the end. I think the weather was just too awful, if I remember correctly. But we'll try and get to as many as we can throughout the rest of this year. But yeah, I had an interesting chat with a gent who's got a 4CV at home. He's over at sort of Stoke direction somewhere, so he had a good look over this and we had quite a chat. So hopefully we will come across that one at a show somewhere this year. That'd be nice to see. Another right-hand drive example of the Renault 750. So that'd be nice to see that one. But yeah, there was a great turnout of old cars. I was really impressed with just how many cars turned up today, so that was really good to see. Nice to see a few familiar faces and also various cars that we haven't actually seen before. So that was really, really good. A really fun way to spend a morning, a Sunday morning. And yeah, hopefully we'll do it again soon. So I'm going to have a bit of a move around today. It's still fairly early, it's only just after 2 o'clock, so I'd like to get the Anglia out. So I think as the weather is pretty nice, we will go and get the garage keys and move things around a little bit, because I want to get the Anglia nearer the main door so that I can use that a little bit. This one can go inside the garage for now. This has had its outing for a little while, so I think it's the Anglia's turn to see a bit of use, and the Dodge pickup will sit in the middle. So let's go and find some keys and let's get things moving. Yeah, so we need to bring this one out, so Harley's doing the honours. He kindly offered, that was so kind of him. He doesn't need much persuading. Right, let's get out of the way. This way a bit. It's okay. Okay, so now we need to get this one out. This one hasn't run for, I don't know, a couple of months. So whenever the MGB went, I swapped them round. That was the last time this has run. So hopefully it won't need too much persuasion. We'll just, this has got a, probably can't see because it's too dark, but this has got a priming lever on the fuel pump as well. So we'll give that a little go. We can listen to the fuel going into the float chamber. Sorry the light's so poor. If I get this standard lamp here, might be able to see a little bit more of what's going on. So I'll give that a bit of a pump up and it'll prime up the float chamber there. But manually pumping the fuel up just means you don't give the battery quite as hard a time churning away to bring the fuel up. Yeah, that's it. That's that. So I just need to connect the battery up and then we'll give it a go. Okay, the battery's reconnected and we've primed up the fuel. Go for it. There we go, never doubted it for a moment. That's it. That's it. Such a sweet sounding engine. Yeah, it's not run for a little while. Just need to pop the choke in a bit, but let's get that tucked out of the way and then the Renault can go in its place for now. The petrol's smelling a little bit old, so I think we need to shove a little bit of fresh fuel in there. Now we can see the glorious Bakelite petrol filler cap. Its 70th birthday present. There we go. Right, there's not many kids his age who are into this kind of thing, so it's fortunate that he doesn't mind it, because if he didn't like this sort of thing, he'd be pretty miserable most of the time, I think. So we're going to shove this in the garage where the Anglia was. Just sneak it through this gap. Let me just watch him through. Okay. Right, I shall go in the garage and watch it, because it's just a little bit narrow down the bottom there, so we'll probably drive it in part way and then push it the rest of the way, and then it's easy to control things. Well, we've safely tucked that away now, so next it's the truck. Yeah. Well, I think we'll take this for a little airing just down the road, because it hasn't run for ages. Like I said, it does need some fuel, but I'll put some in the can, in the tin, and bring some back and put it in. I need to realign this lens for some reason. This old lens, it sort of jiggles around. So I think there should be a gasket behind here. So I need to have a look, just take it off and see if there's a gasket missing in there. Usually I've got like quite a thick gasket. So So I need to investigate that. Right. Let's push the choke in a bit. Yeah. And they don't like just running, bring them out, stopping on choke all the time. They need a decent run. They don't like just starting, stopping, going in, not warming up. It doesn't do them any good at all. So we'll treat it to a little bit of a run out. Well, we haven't been in this one for a little while, have we?
No, we haven't.
No, so yeah, we will do a proper video in this fairly soon, just to sort of update things and just take it for a bit of a run out, little treat. But I think for today we'll just give it an air and just run down the road, and it can just warm up a little bit. It's a similar age to the Renault. The Renault's 54 registered. Well, it's a 53 car, I think. This is 1952, but they are worlds apart driving. This is so different. The brakes are so different. Steering, the gear lever's huge, long gear lever in this. Whereas in the 4CV, it's just a tiny little gear lever on the floor. Here to be coming to a halt. So even though they're almost the same age, they couldn't be more different, these two. This is just like driving a pre-war car, really. This is probably easier to drive than the Renault, actually. Right, well, I think that'll do. It's been quite an exciting day. We've had the Renault out, turned the Dodge round, and we've come out for a spin in the Anglia. So I think we'll probably wrap this video up. Thank you very much for watching. It's been great to be out to another show. Hopefully there'll be many, many more of them as 2023 rumbles on. Thanks so much for watching. Please check out some of the other videos on the channel and some of the shows that we went to last year, and keep an eye out for shows that we go to this year.
And on car traction.
And don't forget to have a look at car traction as well when you've exhausted all the videos here on the Old Classic Car channel. Thanks for now. Bye bye.